Missoula, 2017. At this rate, I'll be back in 2037, filled with a sense of nostalgia I can't ask any of you to understand. America clocking in at 261 years old. I suspect by then, the old courthouse where my American journey began will be a well-worn parking lot among Montana's first big skyscrapers. I can't even begin to guess where you'll grab some decent hot dogs, let alone one apple pie, if it's not illegal. Time will likely work its magic on my childhood home, presently occupied by a surly policeman and his mastiffs, leveling all, obviously, for progress. My fellows in the Lao diaspora migrated closer to their families elsewhere, leaving behind our many clandestine veterans in cemeteries where everyone's names are cold trivialities until Judgment Day. Lifetimes American, obscure. Above, old Blackbird Circle, laughing about our just cause and my foolish memories, free as Barabbas as I drive east. Fonchan. I know. My younger brother worries one day, after all it took, to live here. His little nieces, who haven't even been born yet, won't understand a word of his poetry or how to dance with an elephant, let alone a Kinnelly or a New York Apsara. Putting Huasai on the literary map after centuries is a precedent. But is it poetry? To tell tomorrow, Sabaidi, how are you? From someone who cared enough to leave notes? Is that all a Lao poem can be in the shadow of Camp Pendleton? I show him a copy of CIA Dope Calypso. Why should a white howl be the very last word? I smile as he shows all he can do with a pen. Between La Mancha and Shangri-La. Never could quite put it on a map, like an itch you can never scratch. Part impossible dream, part Xanadu, part offshoot of a game of Ramayana telephone. Lanchan never had windmills, but every Lao child of late grows up with wistful tales, not quite history, not quite memory, mostly disputable geography. Esteemed encyclopedias fuel our romance with rumors of flourishing between 1354 to 1707, horse to pig, 1898 to 2251 Buddhist reckoning, before we split into 3 kingdoms. We broke up our realm over a prince's adultery, one part the king and I, one part Antigone, without even one catchy song to show for it today, as you did back then, supposedly, leafily. If we had our act together, maybe our 17 coin in some alternate timeline outdoes those 13 colonies, and by the time the dust settles on warring states, people will admire the Lao American dream, coast to coast, Los Angeles to Chicago, a statue of Liberty at Jade Nakini Kuan Yin, watching vigilantly over us from the big papaya, whether we're tired or poor, huddled or refugees. Instead, we're still stuck between Apocalypse Lao and King of the Hill, with a rusty trove of UXO, hard luck stories a few dollars shy of crazy rich, reminding me, you idiot, we're just building a casino. Brian's Toy Box Blues. They chewed me out for calling Larry Hama's opus an Asian American literary masterpiece, flipping the script on Dragon Lady tropes and Yellow Peril fears, with slinky Eurotrash and entitled used car salesmen determined to rule the world, thwarted by ninjas, grunts, and feisty Chinese American tunnel rats from the Bronx. You'd think I suggested that Tara Patrick memoir could be a textual counterpoint to Woman Warrior. What's a childhood after the Secret War? Among boat people and escapees from the killing fields, you didn't see yourself reflected in meaningful stories. C'est la vie, so it goes. That's just the way that it is. Put us in a toy aisle and you'll spy a bunch of kids full of wonder, trying to find a mirror in a Thundercat, beneath a mask, straining to relate to bespectacled Clark Kent. There wasn't a Barbie with black hair anyone wanted. Looking at muscle-bound masters of the universe, anything that marginally resembled you was a caricature one punch away from blatantly racist. Space samurai stare back. We were as puzzled as white children what they stood for. Would I have become a poet if I'd had G.I. Jung? No one wants to hear about Optimus Prime or the elaborate backstories of My Little Pinoy or epic adventures of Kula Vilasak, also known as Catharsis. The other day, the comics rebooted to boost slumping sales, revising the notorious Cobra Commando's secret roots to a ruthless surfing of drug wars in the Mekong. It was supposed to be an improvement. My niece doesn't quite understand why I'm giving her Resistance Bombardier Paige Tico and not one of the cute droids, or at least a Jedi, too young to truly discuss empires and irony. Bottom dollars. Returning to series, somewhere along the way, Meh learned the words to Tomorrow from Little Orphan Annie, the important part of the chorus, at least. It's midnight, and we're all up fixing snacks, restless. A day away in good old Bon and Ben, they're making it through another lunch hour, changing. After 45 years, if I took her back now, we both know there's just about nothing she'd recognize. But she still wants to go anyway, one last time, with her son. I can give her a poem instead. Just so you know. My love tells me I'm not allowed to curse the teachers who thought my young readers would not be able to find the stories of who they are in poetry. That wouldn't be very Lao, you know. This moment disappeared like a bowl of hot pho beneath the full moon in mid-April. Pitching. To be frank, Big Trouble in Little Champasak probably isn't going to bring in the matinee crowds we need. It might not make it to sci-fi, let alone Lifetime. Your pitch for Dr. Sun Mei Strikes Again wasn't quite the response to Battle Hymn of a Tiger Mother we were looking for. Zombies stretch our budget a bit too far. But Betrayal may have gotten an Oscar nomination, but that won't buy you lunch on this side of town, not even used hubcaps for a junky Gran Torino. You laugh too much at your origin stories. If you survive CIA Black Ops and make it to America, you need tears galore, but no one takes you seriously. An enduring smile at the sub-ID for being alive in diaspora is unbelievable. No one's that unbreakable. No one. Nobody knows what's so funny about an American werewolf in Juan Paban. They definitely won't buy the story of Dracula, immune to garlic and lemongrass, but dreading punchy steaks. Sleepless in Savannakhet will not be the feel-good breakout rom-com of the year for obvious reasons, even with Angelina. Neither will How Supani Got Her Groove Back. Nice try with Fresh Off the Starships, but that's a hard pass. We had in mind more of a Miss Saigon with Pad Thai meets the Joy Luxe Slumdog namesake in translation for your undiscovered country. It's premature to be discussing a shared universe between Elephant Stomp, Princess of Laos, and Lao Warrior. We won't lay the groundwork for Laosploitation cinema with your avenging Morlum godfather. Little Laos on the Prairie, the movie, has a shot, but we can't see a love interest for Matt Damon. You're frustrated, but remember, you don't exist in America without a movie about yourselves these days. What are you going to do? Write a poem? Yeah, good luck with A Better Move On.